I got to lead with the Leafs. Yesterday, I was really enjoying the hockey game. I really was. It was fun. The atmosphere was great. It reminded me as someone who has been to games, and I've been to a lot of other Canadian hockey arenas. And it's so fun when the Leafs play on the road in Canada. It's so much. Yeah, I think it's the closest as this country gets to soccer. Right? Like we get the opposing chants. We get the people that are, half of them, they're doing the Let's Go Leafs chants. The others, Let's Go Oilers. It's Newmarket's own Connor McDavid. And he cares. He shows up. He's just digging in. Mitch Marner and Austin Matthews, they show up. They're playing phenomenal. And it's a good, fun, open, back and forth affair with, I don't want to say physicality, because if you're my age, you remember when the game was a little bit more physical, and it seems to dwindle year over year over year. But I thought that for modern day hockey, if you're the league, that's what you want people to see, right? The feeling of there's like a rivalry tension between the middle of the country, Western middle country, Canada, and the big city, Toronto. The Edmonton Oilers have revenge narratives, right? They've got Zach Hyman. They've got Connor Brown. They're the overlooked team that plays late at night versus the team that gets all the hype. Who's the best team in Canada? That's been a back and forth between these two squads for quite some time, and that's the way that they played. I thought that the Oilers skating that was on display was just another reminder, same as this is one of the big issues about where the Leafs are at. The Oilers, the way they skate, and the Avalanche, the way they skate. That's one of the biggest discrepancies that you go, well, that can't change. The Leafs aren't going to become a faster team overnight. Where are they going to start picking up all the speed? There probably actually isn't even enough discussion about, hey, when it comes to trades, maybe pick up a little bit of speed. Anyway, the game ends in the worst possible way. The way where everything gets spoiled. There's no other talking point. It just goes right back to the thing that we've been doing all week long, which is, hey, the Leafs blew another lead in the third period. They were up 2-0. Their goalie lets in a horrific leaky one, but he's been a stud for them. So how can you complain? He's their third stringer, for God's sakes. It's just he was due to have a bad one. And then the game-tying goal is ugly, and then the game-winning goal, of course, for Edmonton comes in the final minute. The Leafs are right there to get their loser point. So it's a disaster, right? It's a team that absolutely needed a win. It's a team that has now lost 4 straight in this fashion, 3 without a point. And I hate doing this, genuinely, just because there is a really strong sentiment in this city that it's like Toronto media versus the team, or the players versus the media and the fans at times. And there's this adversarial relationship when really there's nothing. It couldn't be further from the truth for the vast majority of us. Like, I'm in it. You can believe me or like not. But it's way better than when the Leafs do well. People here that are in media especially absolutely want the Leafs to go deep on a playoff run. There's no question about it. You know what I care about? My downloads. Right? You know where I get those? Leafs deep playoff runs. So I grew up a Toronto Maple Leafs fan. That's like my entire relationship with my dad is built around sports teams. Okay? That's what it was built around. And yet people are like, oh, you hate the Leafs. They hate the Leafs. No, there's an accountability standard that people want to have, and they want to see this team win. For God's sakes, they're honoring the 1967 Maple Leafs at All-Star Weekend, and you go, that's nice, but it's also the biggest punchline in this city and in this country when it comes to this hockey team is that they haven't been able to win since there were more than 6 hockey teams. So people have grown frustrated. And there's this weird disconnect between the players and the fans and the media, where the players just think like, everyone's against you. It must be nice up in the ivory towers thinking this way. And we got more of that from Mitch Marner last night. So I'm sorry to play this audio, but I need to hear it and I need the context, because I saw the quote last night and it was horrific. And I didn't want to hear it before I did it live. And I wanted Versteeg on the line so that he could hear it too. We're going to get into a whole bunch of other stuff. But to me, there was a quote from Mitch Marner last night that seemed pretty damn indefensible, and we're going to play it right now.
You guys can get back on the right track here after 4 losses.
Because we're a great hockey team, and we got to ignore what everyone else says. We know we're a great hockey team. We show it every night. I mean, these last 4 games that we've had leads, we've played some awesome hockey, some great hockey. You know, like I just said, stuff goes your way sometimes, stuff doesn't. So for us, we just can't get frustrated at each other. We know we're doing the right things. We're talking a lot, communicating well on the ice, off the ice, and it's going to come. So stay patient with it. Don't let anything outside of us frustrate us or get us, angry. Like, just got to do what we do.
Do you feel frustration seeping in?
No, but I think, a lot of people on the outside are trying to do that. So that's how it goes. For us, we know we're doing right things.
Okay. To me, this is such loser mentality. I'm sorry. This is like a weird. We've always had the, hey, it's us against the world thing with sports, right? Like, for God's sakes, Tom Brady, when he won his last Super Bowl with the Patriots, was like, we're the underdogs. We're the underdogs. We're such underdogs. And you go, what? The Patriots. You're Tom Brady. Who's saying you can't win? Everybody thinks you're going to win. Him and Edelman were going around at everything. We're underdogs. We're underdogs. I get having a chip on your shoulder and doing the us against the world thing, but it's different here, man. It's different here. For whatever reason, this group of players, and this player in particular, have created a boogeyman outside of the dressing room that has grown into such a outsized figure for these guys. And instead of focusing on the fact that, hey, guys, you've blown it to a bunch of teams that you're supposed to be compared to. Hey, guys, you're the leaders of this team. What are you doing right now? Are you frustrated? You better be damn frustrated. You think if they ask Connor McDavid that question, no joke, that he's going, well, I know the people in the media don't want us. I know the fans are saying that we're not a great hockey team. What about you has proven that you're a great hockey team? The fact that you're now 500? The fact that you're in the bottom half of defensive teams in the NHL? Like where is the greatness coming from with you guys? What is the great thing about your hockey team right now? What is it? Because there's not a stat that says it other than the guy that you play with being the best goal scorer arguably on the planet. What is it that says you're a great hockey team right now? Point to those things and people will say them. People will give you the credit that you deserve if you're really a great hockey team. You don't think people here are dying to give you that credit? You don't think people here have been dying for a winner their entire lives, their entire existence as Toronto Maple Leafs fans and media? You think that we want to be saying, oh, crap, let's crap on these guys, let's dump on these guys after another blown lead? You're not frustrated? You're not frustrated, Mitch. You feel like you're playing some great hockey? You're doing moral victories this many years into it? And I get it. He's trying not to pile on, but this is only making it worse. This is what I hate about this group, is they don't hate losing. They don't. They don't hate losing. And there is a lack of accountability with the core. And this is what drives me nuts about all the Keefe talk is like, yeah, maybe Keefe should go. All right. Maybe they need a new leader in the room. Maybe they need another voice. Maybe they need someone who's better strategically, better with the lines. I don't care. But these guys, it's always somebody else. It's always something else. It's always someone that's against them. And God, if they didn't have all that to overcome, they might just be able to do it. It's tiresome and it needs to stop. One way or the other. Anyways, Kris Versteeg, 2-time Stanley Cup champion. Something that, has not happened in this city since, again, 1967. And inventor of the KLEVR app, which I say to you every single time that Kris comes on. But if you're a parent, you got kids in athletics, you're a coach of young athletics, you have to just download this app. It's free. Just go check it out. It's a genuinely revolutionary app. Go look at it. Anyways, Kris Versteeg, what's up, brother? I'm fired up this morning. I'm pissed. I hated that quote.
I figured you were going to be fired up. But all that told me is own it. It's wild to think that you're looking outward instead of inward. You should be pissed off.
No kidding.
You should be pissed off as a team. You should be pissed off as players. You should look at each other. You should look at the coaching staff. And you should be pissed off at where you're at. But where you're at is just where the numbers have been taking you. Look at the start of the year, all the lucky wins, the comebacks, all this. This is just basically a leveling off of where you've been playing this entire season. So everyone's like, they're not winning now. Well, they shouldn't have been winning at the start of the season. They just have superstars that can win you games outright, and you need superstars to win games. But I listen to the media. Yeah, that's not the coaching. It's not it is the coaching. It is the coaching, and it is the players. It's both. But when the coaching is the same year after year after year, this is what you get. The numbers will eventually lead you to where you're going. I know everyone talked about the Oilers at the start of the year. What did I say when they need a coaching change? They need a coaching change. Yes, the numbers at some point were going to turn for them eventually, but to get to where they're going now, they would not be here if Woodcroft was still their coach. Zero chance. Zero chance. So again, structurally they need a change. Details they need a change. But the numbers now, these 4 losses are just accumulating because of where they should have been at the start of the year. They should have never been in the playoff race, to be honest, with the way they were playing. They just had Willie was playing out of his mind. Matthews was scoring big goals, and they're here because of those guys. Now, they've relied on them way too much, and other guys on their team don't even know what way is up anymore, but they are literally only in this race today because of those guys and because what they did at the start of the year.
Yeah, I mean, it's not a coincidence that the William Nylander now has 3 straight games without a point, and the Leafs go 3 straight games without a point themselves.
Well, what would good teams do if Willie didn't have a point for 3 games? Your other guys pick them up. They have 0. So again, back to Keefe as a coach. He's a great coach. He's done good things. But when you can't get past letting a guy like I was at the game against the Avalanche. Domi was the best player on the ice. And I'm not saying Domi is the end-all, be-all either. But he was the best player on the ice. He finished with 10 and a half minutes. If you don't like the player, even when he's playing good, you damn well better play him to win a game. You better get past your pride and whatever ego it is to play that player to get you a W in a win league when you're in the biggest market in hockey. He can't get past that. Spezza, I keep going back all these years. He just can't get past it. He can't inflate other guys to excel the hockey club. And it's a problem. The details suck. The details are horrendous. I watched the end of that Detroit game. Yarncroc gets the puck. He goes back in the zone. Holmberg gets the puck on the wall, doesn't get the puck out. The next guy goes up, can't get the puck out. These are your role guys. They're going back in the zone. They're not winning board battles. Knives doesn't get the puck out, and then Detroit scores. These guys don't have either the know-it-all to do what to do in those situations. This is hockey fundamentals at the end of the day. Like, get the puck out, 2 minutes left. I don't care. Block a shot with your face. Doesn't matter. These guys don't even understand hockey fundamentals at the biggest times of games. Like, what do we need to do at this time of the game? The Detroit game, horrendous to watch, the details. At the end of the Oilers game, Marner has the puck on the boards. He goes back in the zone. He forces Riley to ice it. He puts an absolute burger on Riley's stick, screws Riley over, and Riley has to shoot it down the ice to ice it, and then they get hemmed in the zone. Like, crap detail. Get the puck out. Live the fight another day. What have we said? Tavares on the 1 goal. Everyone's blaming Jones on the goal. I mean, these D have no idea what they're doing off rush coverage. And I've said this about Klingberg. Klingberg's speed. Yeah. He doesn't know what he's doing because the coaches don't tell him what he's doing. Look at Brody yesterday. Look at McCabe. These guys are just backing in. And then all of a sudden it's like, oh, is my back checker going to take him? No, I'm going to go. Boom, they sling another pass. Now all of a sudden the slot's open. Guys don't know where they're going. Guys don't know where they're going. Yeah, they're not the best blue line, but they don't know where they're going. And especially when, hits the fan, you better have a structure in place that helps you for those moments. So at the end of games, now that they're panicking, they don't know where they're going because they're second-guessing. Everyone's feet are going crazy. Guys don't know if they have to go to a guy off the rush or if they have to back straight in as a D-man. Then all of a sudden the forwards overcheck. You have 2 guys on 1 guy. Then all of a sudden it's a complete mess. Like when you're looking at it entirely, if you're going to be a Stanley Cup winning team, you need to trust everyone. They don't trust everyone. Coaches won't trust everyone. And if you think Guy Boucher's the guy to come in and do it, you're kidding yourself. If Brad Trelevin thinks that's your guy to come in and do it, he's kidding himself.
I don't think that it would be. I think it would be outside the organization.
You just hear it, right?
Yeah.
You hear that could be like you're kidding yourself. Now, how many more years do these guys have in their prime? How many more years? This is a question for you. They can't go out and trade all their assets. The team and keep Keith. Like, even if you trade assets to bring a guy in, you can't trust he's even going to play the guy. Mm-hmm. To be honest. So
yeah, that's a big part of this to me. You know, I was thinking. So I was trying to wait to have you on because you were making some really salient points about Keith with me over text, right? And I was going, this is good. And what drives me nuts, I think, is when a lot of people, and I put myself in this conversation. I watch a lot. I feel like I'm pretty educated on the game, but I don't know it the way that, you know, a guy who's won cups knows the game pretty clearly. And so there's this misnomer, I think, sometimes with sports, and usually I kind of push back on it, on the fire the coach thing in all sports except for football. It's the only one where I go, okay, like I feel as though halfway decent fan can make an assessment on this. But if you look at baseball, right, it's like fire the manager. And you go, well, he's really just reading off a spreadsheet. Hockey, there's only so many systems that you can play, right? And I go, all right, lose the room. If you feel that, then fine. But here, it's felt a little too quick to pull the trigger on that and not enough blame for other people within the organization. But when you're explaining it that way and you're talking about a team that doesn't have their details down, that doesn't have their structure down, that, you know, has looked at times like the motivation goes up and down, the fact that their general manager, the signings that he made this offseason don't look to be in harmony with the coach that he backed and helped and gave a contract extension to, I would be thinking that, yeah, if you're going into the deadline and things are going this way, you're right. You absolutely can't give up a big asset for a defenseman that you don't know your coach is going to love, right? You can't go out there and say, we're going to give up our future first-round pick, and then all of a sudden it ends up being like Tyler Bertuzzi, who's making $5.5 million and has the same amount of goals as a fringe NHL player, Nick Robertson, who's got 1 goal in 24 games, right? So I totally get that part of it. But my question to you is, off of this, though, before we wrap this up, is those details, that structure, can you put that in place in the middle of the year? Because it's funny. I was thinking about how Babcock got fired because the team was being disappointing, but also there was the huge story. Remember what it was?
No.
Tyson Barrie. They weren't getting enough out of Tyson Barrie. He was the guy that Dubas went and traded for. It was a big Nazem Kadri trade. Man, they got to unlock Tyson Barrie. And guess what happened? Sheldon Keefe came in and he bumps Barrie up the lineup. He's getting more power play time. Barrie starts accumulating more points and everyone goes, hooray, that's the way it's going. But when the Leafs fail that year, when they don't close the deal that year, people go, well, Keefe didn't have a training camp and it's hard for him to get guy. It's on the fly. And so all these people are making excuses for him. And so I just wonder if all these problems that you're identifying right now, you know, you bring in, let's say, Craig Berube, right? That's the hot name. That's the hot replacement name. Is he going to be able to correct these details? Is he going to be able to improve these coverages? Is he going to get them to play more structured hockey when we're already more than halfway down through the season?
Well, if you look at it again, what is your best thing to do? You don't have a good enough team possibly to give up assets at the moment. These guys are only in their primes for so long. What's the trigger you need to pull? It's obviously the coach.
Yep.
So if that's the trigger you need to pull and you're not willing to give up more assets, you're like, okay, let's just see if the coach can change the culture, can change a little bit of the details of this team going into the playoffs. And then if this team shows what they can do, then we'll start to load them up for next season. That would be my plan in place. That would be my plan. I think a coach can easily come in and change the energy of the depth guys. No doubt. They can change the energy of the depth guys. They can change the details, the understanding positionally, line rush, certain things. I'm sure they all know what they're doing, but do they really know? No, they don't, after watching that and watching the last few games really closely. So a coach can come in. They don't want to overbear the team. I've been on coaching changes midseason. You know, Quenneville actually came in 4 or 5 games into the year. Replaced Denny Savard, and then all of a sudden, you know, we ended up going to the Western Conference Finals. Now that's 4 or 5 games into the year. We're a lot deeper, but he did change the structure of us a little bit. He changed the energy, and he changed the demand and the owning your problems. So he was big on, if you are not good that day and the media asks you, tell them you're not good and come back the next day. Just own it, right? These are little things that build culture, that build a winning team. And when, as a team, You understand that let's even go back as much as a power play. I remember Kane and these guys would be on for 2 minutes on the power play and Taves, and all of a sudden, game 5, Kane and Taves are on for 2 minutes, and Quenneville let him have it. Now, I understand you want Matthews maybe on for 2 minutes or the odd time, but all of a sudden the power plays went from 1 minute, right? And then all of a sudden we were starting to compete against each other. And then they started to split them up. But just those details, that demand of their star players, what you need of them, the structure, and then getting the depth guys involved to feel more important is something a coach can easily do. There's no doubt in my mind. Will it translate to them winning a first round or second round? I don't know. I have no idea. But will it translate, I would hope, over time to letting these depth players feel important, making these players understand the details? I for sure, 100% think it would. Case point, Chris Knobloch. I believe that's one of them. Everyone can point to Ottawa going the other way. Leafs are a lot better team than Ottawa. They're a complete disaster. But, Minnesota, little things, right? The details, the wear and tear a certain coach can put on a guy like Dean Evason. They bring in another guy, start to follow a bit better details. I know that's what those are the two things that I'm pointing to, but they can for sure come in and do those things that we just talked about.
So, yeah, details and coverages, that's your main gripe with Sheldon Keefe right now.
Well, culture, too.
Yeah.
Again, owning it.
Yeah.
Like, talk to your team. If you're at the end of a game and you're on a long streak, don't give what you gave. Don't give sound bites to let people pile on you more. Just own it. Say you're not good. Man up.
That's the players more than the coach,
on.
though. Because, the coach, I will say this about Keefe. He's the one guy, media-wise, it used to be Muzzin who was the accountable dude, right? Who was clearly trying to set a culture of accountability in Toronto of, hey, he was the own it guy. They would disappoint in the playoffs. Everybody would have horrible.
And what does Muzzin have?
Yeah, a cup, exactly. But now it doesn't really feel like they have that guy. They don't have that voice, and their leaders certainly haven't been that. But Keefe, the other night, he called out Willie, right? He says he wasn't good enough. They had to put him up the lineup because they had to try to get him going because he wasn't doing anything against Colorado. He has had his moments where he's tried to at least say something or he's tried to put ownership on the team. It's the other guys that haven't partaken in that aspect of it. Has Keefe at times deflected, and has Keefe at times, has he had to walk comments back, which make him feel really, like he's in a tough spot? Sure. But to me, that part of it, the culture part of it, is that's where the top end guys have to take accountability. And if they do bring in a new voice, that they have to decide, okay, now this is getting real. This is our third coach. We can't have this. We can't have this repeat itself. My thing with Keefe is going back to the Bertuzzi's, like you said, the depth players, right? And I hate that I think about Bertuzzi this way, but hell, he's on the third line last night. He's struggling to find minutes and consistent ice time. His play is extremely up and down. His season has been unbelievably disappointing, especially since he's making 5.5 sheets. The Domi one you understand a little bit more because he's tough defensively and he's clearly not what Keefe wants as a third line center. But yeah, you probably have to play him more, and especially the nights he's going, like you said. But
there's no defined roles.
Okay, so the chicken and egg here is that it's more a Keefe problem than it is those players' problems to you.
100%. There's no so he's on the third line. They played 11 minutes. That's not third line minutes. That's not a true defined third line. He doesn't trust Domi. Put Domi on the wing. Put Bertuzzi on the wing. Put Yarncroc on the wing. Who cares? Put Camp in the middle. Camp is your best guy to check as a third liner. But they want to move Domi to the middle because they like how he's playing. Find those guys more minutes as wingers if you don't trust him as a centerman. Put him on the wing. Move him up the lineup. Get a defined line that can check and give them minutes. Give Bertuzzi access to 5 more minutes a night, 4 more minutes a night. And don't say, he had 16 minutes one night. Well, that's one night. You can't play 10, 12, 12, 11, 10, 12, 16, and then be expected to have 20, 30 goals. You're out of your mind. There's no chance. And to do what he needs to do to be effective, there's just no chance. But there's no defined roles. Who's the third line? Camp's going to go out there and play 9 minutes and take faceoffs, and then we're going to find Domi some minutes, and there's no defined line. That's why those lines share minutes. That's why you're going to see the odd time. One will get 8, one will get 12, one will get 12, one will get 10. That's why there's no defined roles for these guys at the bottom. And they don't feel important in that role. You can see how it goes. Like, if you don't feel important in your role, it's not going to go very well.
Yeah. I think that is a great point. I agree with it. I think that it's, again, to me, the number one reason that you would make a coaching change is that you're hoping that guys do feel more defined. But it also, when we're talking about team culture and we're tying all these things into one another. One of my fears going into the season was, what happens if a guy like Bertuzzi does have a slump or does feel like a whipping boy, or a Domi, the same thing. All these guys on 1-year contracts, right? Just the mercenary team. Like, is there a real feeling of togetherness with this group when guys know, like a Bertuzzi, he's pissed because he's not getting his numbers and maybe it's going to affect his contract? And like, I've always wondered about that aspect of it. Is 5 guys know they're going to be there and the rest of the team is looking around going, you said no defined roles. I'd say no defined future.
Well, there's that, but then it comes back into the culture. Yeah. Good teams with good culture make everyone feel important. They make every single guy feel like their job is important. Not that it's, again, each and every night am I going to play 8 minutes or am I going to play 12? Now, based on your play, you should get inflated minutes if you're going, but that doesn't even seem to be the case. Like, you don't if we go back to the Avalanche game, Max is having a great game. He doesn't get inflated minutes. So, even
what's
your
the incentive?
It's not incentivizing them to do more. So, and then, who's taking the D-zone faceoff? Is Camp your guy to take it? Yeah, he does it sometimes. Yeah, then they'll Tavares, and maybe Camp's been on the ice, but there's no defined guy who's going out there to win that faceoff who feels super important in these moments, in these roles. All the top teams have it, and they define it. That's where you look at like a guy like Craig Berube. I played for Chief. He would come in and straight up tell guys, this is your role. I don't care if you ever score a goal. You're going to kill the clock, and you're going to win faceoffs. This is why you're important to us. So I'm not saying he needs to be a coach. I think he'd be a great addition, and he's a great guy, and he knows how to win. But those type of guys understand what it takes, I guess, to incentivize players, especially guys on 1-year deals. You're talking, I'd be pissed right now if I came here with you sign $5 million, you take a 1-year deal, you think you're going to play with Austin Matthews and Mitch Marner, and all of a sudden you're playing 11 minutes a night. I'd be pissed.
Yeah.
Of course,
I would say Bertuzzi does absolutely have to play better, and it's not, there hasn't been long stretches of him playing great this year. There's been moments, there's been games, there's been small stretches. The Sweden right after that trip, he was playing well, but I think that for me, if we're doing the coaching part of this, it's been, it ends up being too quick. The guys that get cycled on those lines, it happens pretty quickly. And if you're him and you're looking at it and you're going, okay, so you're putting Pontus Holmberg up there instead of me, and I'm getting 10 minutes, and you're giving him those opportunities. Okay, cool.
Well, exactly. And I actually didn't mind the lines he went against with Detroit. Spread it out a little bit. It seemed like Domi or those guys had a little bit more jump to play with a Marner. He got excited about it. Holmberg got some jump. He's playing with these guys. He is playing great right now. Holmberg is playing good.
No question.
Gave him some juice. Made them feel important. And then you wheel it right back one day later against Edmonton. Now, I understand getting Marner and Matthews together and all this, but I didn't mind that changeup. But it's one time in how many years that this has happened?
Yeah, I think the issue for right now was he did it, and you can blame him for this, the miscalculation of the timing of it, but he does it right before they're about to go on a road trip. And it's pretty clear that he didn't want to have Domi on the ice against Connor McDavid, right? Like, he didn't want him playing those heavy minutes with Mitch Marner. Yeah, I think that there's probably other ways that they could have done it, but that was clear. That was the conservatism of last night, was he only trusts so many players. He wants those players all together, and he wants those players riding major minutes, because when everybody else steps on the ice, he's living in fear of it. And I will say that last night, when we're talking about the way that game goes, the game-tying goal is one where Domi and Snyes, 2 guys, like, you look at who's blowing those coverages you're talking about. It's like, it's those 2 dudes.
Yeah, and you have them out.
Yeah.
Nyes had 9 minutes.
Well, yeah,
that was Nyes out, and Nyes looked like he was swimming upstream the whole game. Brutal stick, tough passes, and I love Nyes.
Same.
I love him. But as a player, as a young player, you play 9 minutes and then you're on the ice with however many minutes left, and you're just praying to God because this coach doesn't trust you that the puck doesn't either come near you, and if it does, please, Lord, don't be on my stick too long. Like, that's probably what Nyes is thinking. And then he's back-checking hard. The defense don't know if the back-checker's taking it. There's double coverage because Domi's now coming back. That's got to be a communication between the D and the forwards, but generally some teams like the D to back through the dots. Sometimes they like the D to take. So that's where I'm saying it's very unclear. And then you see double coverage, then that's what happens. But you have guys who played 9 minutes. They're on the ice with however much time left. 8. Well, when was that second goal? I can't even remember anymore. The tying goal.
Mm-hmm. Third.
Third, yeah. Anyways, you have these guys on in these minutes. They haven't had inflated minutes, and all they're doing is pretty much praying to God they don't get scored on.
Mm-hmm.
And you have them in these roles when they're not confident, or these so-called roles. It's not going to go well.
Yeah, they look tight. I don't think Matthews and Marner looked tight yesterday, but a lot of the rest
they were great.
Yeah, the rest.
Minus Marner going back in his zone with 2 minutes left, but those are again details and plays you can't make.
Yeah, and again, not to keep going back to this, but that was what I thought was frustrating too about the Marner quote. Was I felt like he's like, we've been playing great hockey, and he was just kind of happy with the way he played that game. And he's like, I played well. We lost, but I did my thing. Yeah, that's the point. That's part of the problem here. Okay, so it doesn't sound like it would be Berube for you. You said that he could come in.
No, I like Berube.
Yeah,
I like Berube. There's, Gallant.
Mm-hmm.
I know Gallant's got a short shelf life, and he comes in and he likes to do things his way, which is great. He is great with the players, it sounds like, and I think these are the two guys that could give a boost to the team, and also these are two guys that aren't scared to, make hard decisions. They obviously have. They both, Gallant's been to how many Cup finals? Berube's won a Stanley Cup, and Chief definitely knows how to make hard decisions and tough decisions. So those are my two lead guys if you're looking at it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you have any other guys that...
No, I like those two names. My only thing is when you talk about the culture, I just don't know how much what a coach can do. So you bring one of these guys in, right? And I think you should probably do it because you have to at least shake it up. You got to try something different, especially if this continues, right? Sure, if they show up in that Calgary game and these guys really just lock it down, play great, close these games, start to show some change, then I think that you're proving that you're playing for this coach and that you're proving that you want to keep him around more than just in the offseason. You say, he's our coach.
All you're doing is resetting the clock.
Sure. Okay. So that okay. But I still believe that there's an opportunity for him to keep it. I don't think that the decision has been made or that it's done. But if you bring one of these guys in, I feel like right away it's going to be a lot of bluster. It's about, hey, I'm coming here and this is the way things are going to get done. It's north-south hockey. It's north-north. This is what we're going to be doing. We're going to be finishing our checks. We're going to be a tougher team to play against. All of a sudden, you might see an AHL call-up happen here or, Bertuzzi gets his role defined and he starts to play better. Great. All that stuff happens. But the thing that I'm afraid of is it feels like the coach they bring in is, all the movies where it's a cop trying to fight the system, but the system is too corrupt, and so it just ends with the cop defeated. You can't beat the system. That's how I feel. It's a different era. I don't think that players are the same as they were when even it was a short time ago that you were in the league when Quenneville's coming in and changing things. I don't think that an authority figure coming in. It's like you got to behave for the first little bit. And then eventually all the patterns are going to show up again. The culture is going to set in. The fact is, these guys are still going to start blaming media and fans when things go south and that they're a great hockey team and that they play great. They had, what did they say when they lost to Montreal? Well, we got a lot of chances, right? What did I know this one was a Keefe, but what did he say when they lost Tampa? We got respect in the handshake line. Okay. Just seems like that's the culture with the team is as long as the Stars play well and get shots and have some good stats, then everything's fine. They get their contracts.
These guys are stars. They're stars.
They are.
And you have them for so long. And how many times can you pull the trigger on certain things?
Mm-hmm.
The coach is the best and easiest one to call in these situations to try to change a culture or try to change up a couple looks. This team is a very good team. They have a lot of good pieces. They have a lot of good players. They have the best goal scorer, one of the best goal scorers in the history of the game.
Yep.
And on this planet, like, you have incredible pieces. Marner's one of the best passers and his edge work. And you got Willie when he's on. Like,
you saw it on the first goal last night.
Yeah, you have special players. So the changes that need to happen, look at soccer, look at, I know that, talking about Man United, look at all these top clubs, Liverpool and football, and like, they have to make hard changes because you can't change the players. And the coaches are the people that need to go faster than the players. And and you have these players only for so much longer. Matthews is 27. And I'm not saying he can't play. He's going to be great for another 5-6 years.
Sure.
But you want him to win a Stanley Cup.
Yep.
You want him to have his best chance. Same with Marner. Same with Nylander. So the easiest trigger to pull to change things is always the coach. It's always the coach, hands down. I just don't think at this moment you can trade assets.
I don't think so either.
And that's why the coach, to me, makes the most sense. That doesn't say Keith's not going to get another job another day, and he will. He's a very good coach. I've never said he's not a good coach. He's going to get a job, great coach. Right now, I think, again, pride a little bit with understanding, but that's something he's going to need to learn if he's going to coach in the league again, is if you don't like the players, you got to play him at some point if he's going to get you a dub. But changing the coach is, to me, the easiest piece to do. It's the necessary piece at the moment if you're going to try to get this team into the playoffs and try to get them back on track to where they need to go, because the numbers now aren't lying. They're just where they should have been from the start of the year.
Mm-hmm. Totally agree. I got nothing. I got nothing against it. You're right. It's probably time for a change. I would think that it's sooner than later, because I think it's 50 days till the NHL trade deadline. And if I'm them, that's the exploratory mission that you've got in front of you. Is, does that change materially impact your decision-making going into the deadline and trying to reinforce this group during that window with what little assets you have? Again, this team doesn't own their second-round pick this year. That was reportedly potentially what it could have gotten, or what it would have taken to make sure Chris Tanev came here earlier in the season. They didn't have it. You keep robbing Peter to pay Paul. Eventually, it could hurt you. Maybe the Leafs end up a year from now or 2 years from now with the team that everybody keeps hoping for, and you look at the cupboards and they're bare, and you say, why? It's because you keep investing in some teams that didn't have it. So I think that you're right. You can't trade for anything now. I'm definitely not trying to shore up other issues before the coach. I've seen that opinion. It's not the one that I share. Respect it. I get it. I would love it if this team had a better defenseman. You can't trust
that he's going to play the guys that you bring. Yeah. That's the biggest problem.
Well, I think he'd have to play a defenseman because there's just nobody, there's nobody else.
Yeah.
Right? Like their fourth center. Yeah, I was going to say their fourth most important defenseman right now is Simon Benoit, who was like an AHLer with the Ducks. like 2 weeks ago.
I'm not going, like, Keith has legitimate pushback on the defense he's been given this year, and certain holes and issues there is, but
no doubt
you're a coach, you got to figure it out.
Yeah, I agree. Again, you can go get the KLEVR app. It's free in the App Store. Make sure that you go check it out. This was a good one today. See, I like that. I was hot. You were hot. Now I feel a little bit better, right? Everybody feels a little better. Everybody just get it out. Get it out on the microphone, all the frustrations that have been building up over these last couple of weeks. Oh, actually, hold on. I got one more for you before you go. I have to ask you this. Tavares' production has really slowed down, and there's a lot of conversation of, hey, he's actually still getting to his areas, and it's a bad luck, or is he actually slowing down? But he's never been fleet of foot. He's never the fastest skater on planet Earth. So I just feel like he's a super hard guy to judge. And you've been watching a ton of games recently. Do you see a guy who's slowing down, or do you see a guy who's more unlucky?
Well, the Detroit game, on the power play, every time he got the puck, it was poked off his stick, 5-on-5. It was poked. It just seems like there may be a little bit of a lack of confidence right now. That would be me. I'm not worried about him as a hockey player. I just think he could be in a a bit of a funk right now where, things aren't going well. He's fighting it a bit. And you can see that, back to that first power play in Detroit, then the second power play, the puck came to him 3 or 4 times. Every pass he made got tipped. And that's generally the sign of a player who's not fully confident or fully making the plays that they can. And that doesn't mean he's not a great player. I just think he's in a bit of a lack of confidence with his game right now. And that'll come back. I don't worry about Tavares at all.
All right. There it is. Kris Versteeg, 2-time Stanley Cup champion, creator of the KLEVR app, which, again, you can get in every single app store. And you should leave a review when you're there and you get the app and you enjoy it. Thanks, buddy. I'll talk to you soon.
Yep. Take care.
See you, pal.